And another top story today, a proposal to ban sex offenders from attending public schools in Maryland. Here's Mike Wise with his take.
When the Maryland legislative session ends in early April, Governor Larry Hogan will most likely have signed a bill that would ban registered sex offenders from ever enrolling in any Maryland public school. The governor will do this because of a 21-year-old man named Santino Sudano who was granted permission to attend classes from the staff at Parkville High School in Baltimore despite pleading guilty to a fourth-degree sex offense charge in 2018. He's now charged with raping a student at Parkville this past December, and the community is rightly outraged. Last year, the Bureau of Justice released a study which tracked sex offenders for 9 years after they were released from state prison. The study found that released sex offenders were more than 3 times as likely as other released prisoners to be arrested for rape or sexual assault. It also found that half of released sex offenders had a subsequent arrest that led to a conviction. Translation, more than 50% did it again. Everyone deserves a second chance, except those who do something so heinous that they shouldn't be included with the general student population again. And that goes for faculty too. How many times have we heard about a teacher or school employee whose previous employer knew of his inappropriate contact with children, but out of outdated legal privacy concerns, did not let the sexual offender's next place of employment know, or indeed recommended that person for the job just to ensure their school was rid of the menace? See, we need more emergency legislation than less around this topic. We need to hold public and private schools accountable, places like Parkville High, for giving someone the benefit of the doubt that simply does not deserve it. I'm Mike Wise. Agree or not, I'd like to hear your opinion. You can email me at mwise@WUSA9.com, shoot me a note on Twitter at MikeWiseGuy with the hashtag the Q&A, or hit up the show with any question by emailing the Q&A at WUSA9.com.